About 10% of the vote in. It looks like Bernie Sanders is on top. But, boy, number 2 and 3 is going to be real close. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar.
And as Adam and John were talking about the particular districts that they're watching, it's also, I don't think it can be overstated, too, the importance of the youth vote, which could really drive Bernie Sanders' success again here in New Hampshire, as it did back in 2016. We want to check in now with Mike Cherry, who is at Sanders' campaign headquarters over on the campus of Southern New Hampshire University tonight. Mike, what are you hearing so far?
Well, Jen, I can tell you right now, you can probably hear this as well. There are a lot of cheers going on behind me. The doors open just within the last half an hour as people have filed in and they start putting up these numbers on the big screen. We have heard nothing but applause. And as John DeStaso and our very own Adam Sexton have been following along so far, WMUR is showing that with 9% of the vote in, Bernie Sanders definitely continuing his momentum from Iowa right now in a very early lead. But I'm going to take you behind the curtain just for a second because they just turned on some music. I told you that the people are filing in. I'm going to have Phil, our camera guy, just take a look over my shoulder because right now, if I were to say that we are shoulder to shoulder with other media, that still isn't even close enough to describe how tight this area is. I mean, we are talking about dozens and dozens of media from around the world, every single network that you can think of, whether they are still cameras, videographers, websites, every single one. Again, this is a very tight working space. And of course, this is the biggest story that we got here in New Hampshire as I step back onto our crate. I'm not this tall. Phil, why don't you go ahead? Again, we told you we're going to take you behind the veil right now of this. We are standing on a crate just so that we can try and be head and shoulders above everybody else. And hey, we got a long night to go. Adam Sexton was joking that we might be here through midnight. Well, I wore the right shoes because they're comfortable, and I'm standing on top of a crate. Reporting from Manchester at SNHU Fieldhouse. Toss it back to you.
He's not having any fun at all tonight out there, is he, that Mike Cherry?
That's right. As long as there's not bananas in that crate, right?
Yes,
all right, so very good. So we got about 10% of the vote in.
Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders was hoping for that first-place finish here in New Hampshire. As of this point, he has the lead, but it is a narrow margin over Pete Buttigieg, drastically different than the results of 2016.
Still a big crowd, though, out at the Southern New Hampshire University Fieldhouse, and that's where WMUR's Mike Cherry is standing by. What's going on, Mike?
Yeah, I gotta tell you what, despite the gap closing right now between Senator Sanders and Mayor Pete, the crowd here is more than alive, and they have been cheering all night for the most part, especially just moments ago, Nina Turner, who has essentially been Senator Sanders' hype woman across the country. She came in and the room just went up in flames. Now, Senator Sanders, as you said, holds a very small lead over the field. His staff says, though, it's no shock. After all, they won here just 4 years ago in 2016. And following a favorable showing in Iowa, Sanders' staff told me that there is a very similar energy that they experienced back in 2016, and that's despite having a large field that included other progressives. And speaking of which, just moments ago, Senator Sanders, who has yet to step foot into the building and speak to this crowd, he went onto Twitter and congratulated Andrew Yang on his campaign. Yang, of course, announcing earlier that he would be suspending his campaign tonight. In a tweet, Senator Sanders thanked Yang for running, quote, an issue-focused campaign and working to bring new voters into the political process. Sanders goes on by saying, I look forward to working together to defeat the corruption and bigotry of Donald Trump. So the stage is set tonight for Senator Sanders to potentially be doing very well out here. When I spoke to his campaign earlier, they said that a top 2 finish would be amazing, but of course, they want that top spot. Reporting in Manchester from the SNHU Fieldhouse, Mike Cherry, WMUR News 9.
Okay, Mike, thank you. So you have to now start to wonder, with this tiny gap between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg now, where did these independents start to break?